Kia ora, Lara here, also known as Scrappykea, and I'm going to share a layout created with the Let's Go Anywhere collection by Close to My Heart. This is the April feature collection, so it will be the last ever feature collection for Close to My Heart. They, if you haven't already heard, which you probably had, are closing as of the end of May. However, as a maker, I'll be finishing up at the end of April, which is when all of our makers are finishing up. It's been a bit of I'm not sure of the right word, probably disconcerting or kind of a disequilibrium or something. Close to my heart, and selling some of these products and sharing the products with you is kind of a hobby or an interest. I work as a teacher and that's my main job. This is this is an interest or a passion or a hobby that I love to do. So just thinking ahead as to what will be happening next, playing around with different options and looking into it. I know that whatever it'll be something creative, whether it's marketing or selling something, or whether it's just creating for the pure enjoyment of creating, which I do anyway, but it's often nice to have a little bit of a bonus or a little bit of a sideline that goes along with it. Anyway, back to what I'm working on here. So I have used a couple of our inks. I think it was Glacier and Lagoon, two of my favorite colors, and I sort of squished them onto some packing paper, squirted with them with water and layered them into this background. So while that's drying, I am going to work on the photo mat for this layout, and I've got these two photos. One is of the waterfall that's in the background of the photo of the four of us. So we went on an overnight cruise with Fiordland Historic Cruises on a vessel called Faith. It was an absolutely lovely trip. We had two hosts who were with us for this overnight trip. It was a surprise trip that my husband and daughters organised for my birthday. And one of the hosts, Megan, is also a wedding photographer. So she asked about my cameras when I bought the camera bag in, being a Canon labelled bag, and asked about it. She shoots with Canon normally, so she was able to take this nice photo of the four of us. It's a shame that my son wasn't on the trip with us because it's a lovely family photo. However, we did get another family photo before my daughter headed back up to the Waikato, and yes, anyway, that's what the photo is, and it was nice to have an actual photographer being able to use my camera to take a photo of us all together. So that's in this layout, and you'll see I've just taken 3 of the patterned papers. Two of them I've sort of just wrinkled the edges, and one of them I just completely squished up. I just wanted sort of that roughed up, travelled, worn look. The boat that we sailed on overnight is an old boat. She was brought over, I believe, from Scotland, and it was just absolutely lovely being out on Lake Te Anau and enjoying a whole lot of the waterfalls all the way along. It had been a really rainy day, and it was just nice to see them. So I've grabbed the embellishments here as well, and I contemplate using sort of one of those words, but I felt I needed to go with the Let's Go. It's a bit chunkier. Because I'm sort of using quite bold squares or oblongs, it just needed a bit more solidity in the title than some of the lovely sort of handwritten font looking lettering that's in there. So I'm just sticking with the Let's Go. It was kind of Let's Go Together, so the paper's dried enough in the background there to start sticking stuff on, and I decide that I'm going to sort of do a top and bottom cutout border rather than just leaving those empty, which is what I sort of thought to start with. But you'll just see this come together shortly. So I'm using the leftover pieces from where I cut the photos out in the photo mat, and I am going to just sort of tear this. So tearing it wider at one part and then dropping it down means that I'll have a part for the top and a part for the bottom of the layout, as you can see sort of there. And I do end up chopping these a bit smaller because I didn't want them touching the photo. So I'm just going to trim that bottom one down now. And I do end up trimming the top one, I think, once I've got it all together a little bit. And so I'm also going to tuck this piece in behind. So I am just going to cut a strip of that, and I'm going to tear it along one part and just sort of layer it in behind, so it's just sort of peeking up from the bottom. And you can just see me tearing there fairly quickly. and going right to the end. Sorry, the recording stopped there. My phone's getting a bit flat, so hopefully you didn't miss anything. But I just didn't want to tear off too much of that wee strip, because as you can see, I just wanted it peeking up. I didn't want, but I knew I didn't have that much room left with it because I'd only trimmed a small piece off. So I'm going to do the same again for a piece to tuck in behind along the top, and just tearing again really closely to the edge. And it again is just going to peek underneath from the top of the layout. And once I've sort of attached this, I realized that I also want to trim the top down. So I'm just going to attach that at one end and then a little bit of it down there so that it's just sort of there a wee bit. However, I just sort of play around with that photo placement and not feeling it's quite right. I felt like I just needed a bit more space inside it. So that's when I decide to chop off the top a little bit after sort of visually seeing what that might look like. So now I am going to go in and zoom down there, and taken off quite a bit of it, just left a nice wee thin strip. So I love how this just sort of has an element of the cascading of the waterfall, just with the thicker on one side down to the lighter on the other. And so happy to stick these down. I'm just lining them up with the bottom corners and then again with the pieces at the top. So sticking that down again, lining it up with the corners as I go across. So there we have sort of the bare bones, or the main parts of this layout. And just I had a quick touch then to make sure that it was completely dry before I stick it down. I could have used my heat tool to do the drying off, but I just didn't quite get there. And I do play around with quite a bit of placement, a few different places for the title. Wasn't quite sure where it was going to go. It doesn't look right here with the go hanging over the edge, but I decided to do a few sort of embellishments and other bits and pieces, and then I'll go back to where the title might sit. Just use the border sticker here. I just thought that tied in with the colours of the title quite nicely. And there's a few of the stickers that came on the sticker sheet if you get that sheet with your collection. The one with the globe says "Let's Go Anywhere." It does have a plane on it, not a boat, but it's still the same principle. The one at the top there says "Let's Take the Scenic Route," and then I just tucked in that compass with north just down the bottom there, and I'm sticking on the words "Explore Together." And I pulled off another couple, pulled off this sort of green one here, and it says "Weekend Away," which exactly what it is, and "Travel Together" is the other sort of words that I popped into here from sort of the word Feti, or some word strips that were on the sticker sheet as well. And I decided that the title's going to sit down here best. It's sort of the most balanced spot for it all. And I decide that I'm going to use a white pen to border around each of those letters as well, but I'll do that a little bit soon. So here's the white pen, and I just wanted something to kind of tie like this gorgeous sort of chipboard colour. It just felt really bold. It felt like it was sticking out or garish or something onto that background. So I am using just the white pen and going around the outside edge of each of the letters as carefully as I can. When I get to the G, one of my son's dogs started barking really loudly, and I kind of bumped the pen a little bit, and it doesn't look quite as neat as it was. So you'll see that happening in about here. You can sort of see the shadows as he's jumping out the door, and I had to pause to go and get him to go away. So anyway, finishing off tidying up some of those spaces where it got a bit messy, and finishing up going around the letter O before I stick them all down. So bordering and adding edging and all sorts of things to letters is another way of just dressing them up, of making them just a little bit different. And I'm using some good old green Tombow. I was recently working on a challenge where I had to use something old and something new, and maybe I could use the Tombow because I think it's something I pretty much used right from when I first started scrapbooking, which was a good almost 21 years ago now. So I started just after my son was born, and he is turning 21 in April. So it seems like a long time, really. but then it doesn't. It seems like a great pastime to have had, is creating pages and documenting memories as time's gone by. So just popping in a note there, it says, "A night away for my birthday, lovely surprise by my husband and daughters. So nice to spend time adventuring with you, February 24th, 2024. So using an older pen as well, just one that was in my box, and grabbed it and popping it in there. I'm quite happy with how this is looking, but I feel like it just needs a little bit more. So I'm just adding some of these little geo tags in. I've chosen to stay away from sort of the maroon colour. It doesn't fit the colour vibe that's sort of going on with the rest of the layout, and just tucking in some hearts and different things as well. And I decided also to pull out some of my acrylic hearts. So I sort of had some that there was the same colour, I believe, as the blues in the papers that I have torn up. So just pulling those out and sticking a few of the hearts on in different places around the page for some added interest. If you've stuck around with me this long, thanks heaps for watching. I hope you've gained something, or you've got some ideas on how you could use this collection yourself. And I hope you'll keep watching. If you've really enjoyed it, great to have you as a subscriber. That way you won't miss future pages and future creating. However that might look, I am not sure. Anyway, thank you.